Another rocket apartment. Hello to all the meeps and bubbles. We continue with our bug and exploit let's play, where we also try to colonize every planetoid. And that's the focus for today. Send a dupe to a new planet. But before we start with that, we can take care of a few things. Like building liquid storages for all of the crude oil that we finally got from the oil well and our liquid pump in the oil biome. We can research the space power because we might need that for our rocket. And I quickly want to automate the cooling of our food storage. Since our food storage is cooled with hydrogen, we just need a gas shutoff connected to our already existing temperature sensor. And then every time the room gets too hot, hydrogen will be fed to the anti-entropy thermonullifier, cooling down the room. I even leave the temperature settings like we had them before at above minus 25 degrees Celsius. Here you can see it kicking in and cooling down the room, while at the same time using up small amounts of hydrogen. On planet 2 I placed some digging orders. And look at all those happy duplicants, lazing around before they have even been printed. Let's get the bristleberry. It is already time for the first exploit. This time we are storing CO2 the natural way. But why do we need so many methods to infinitely store some gases? Well, sometimes variety is king, and this here is plant-based, which I find is genius. So as you may have seen in the background, we already have a pip in there, we need an oxyfern seed, and a little bit of a liquid in the corner where the button is at the moment. I am using the door trick to create a natural tile, then we wait for the pip to plant the seed and close off the CO2 storage room. After the pip has planted the seed, we have to make sure that our storage room is purely CO2, which of course it is not. That is why I made a room 4 tiles big and placed the door vertically. You don't need a door there, but I use this to destroy every other gas. Everything that isn't needed can be removed, cleaned, picked up and transported away. And then we can check out how this works. As soon as some carbon dioxide hits the oxyfern, the carbon dioxide will be transported to the top right, meaning being stored in our now infinite storage. If this helped you, leave a like for the video. And while all that was happening, we got some omelets. Mirroring the last episode, I'm integrating a few of your ideas, some of them being increasing the storage capacity on the vanilla side of our natural gas setup. And we will achieve that by dumping excess natural gas through this high pressure vent inside of the room. That will add up to an additional 20 kilograms per tile. And this complicated setup here is an integrated mechanical filter that hopefully only lets our natural gas through, but it is only hooked up to the gas pump and not to our already piped natural gas. You just saw me prime the mechanical filter loop. The 2 gas pipe element sensors to the left check if there's natural gas in them. If not, then the gas pump will activate. Here's a quick example of that. Natural gas passing by, there was no natural gas, so some oxygen got sucked up and sent out. That is why I'm cutting the power to the pump until the room has been finished. And later on, when the room is closed off, I will hook it up to the power again. And you already know that I make my fair share of mistakes. That is why I definitely did not forget to make all the gas storages out of steel so that they are able to resist the heat. The pump that I disconnected can now be hooked up again, and then I can show you this one more time, starting from the geyser. Natural gas is being sent off and either goes directly into the system, or if that is already full, through the high pressure vent. It tries to fill up the first storage, then the second, and so on. If the 2 gas pipe element sensors are not permanently covered with natural gas, our gas pump that is in the buffer room will suck up some natural gas and will top up the pipe up to the gas pipe element sensors, all while only letting natural gas through. The natural gas then goes into the generators. Those are the collaterals, by the way. Meanwhile, we got dirt and steel. On the second planetoid, I'm starting up the crude oil to petroleum refinery, which will help us in the first step of plastic production. The crude oil that is coming in from our oil biome is transported to the storage that we built in the beginning, or the petroleum refinery. The created petroleum will then be stored in this liquid storage. With all of that done, we can place down a rudimentary plastic production setup, which in this case will just consist of the polymer press, some pipes and cables, a switch, a gas outlet, and because that freaking thing overheats almost immediately after you use it once or twice, there you go, already broken. I want to place it on a few metal tiles, combined with some temp shift plates. The surrounding 60 degree cold chlorine should cool that down then. The plastic for the high pressure vent came from this, by the way. A lot of this stuff happens simultaneously. And because the coal generators on the first planetoid still annoy me sometimes because the dupes are not supplying them, I automated the refilling process. The dupes still have to deliver the coal though. In another area, more research for the rocket. Wall toilets, for example. Since I couldn't manage every planetoid at once, I let the duplicants on the first planetoid dig up the area that you see right now. You can even see the crop cycles in the lower left corner. Simultaneously with this happening, we started the transit tube transport research, finished it, and then started the research for the glass tiles. Our stargazer on the second planetoid discovered everything that was available in the near vicinity. For example, this amazing moonlet with a lot of volcanoes on it, some swampy ore fields, a swampy world, and the already discovered radioactive planetoid. Taking a look at a metal asteroid again, all of these volcanoes make the decision where to send a rocket to quite easy. Meanwhile, we got 2 tons of gold amalgam. And take a look at this, even though we managed to build so much in this time, they still haven't dug up this area. So let us start with the rocket. The first decision that we have to make is what kind of engine will we be using? But at the moment we only have steam and sugar. Let's quickly check how many hexagons we need to cross. We are here, 1, 2, 3, and then we are in the orbit of this planet. So an engine that can transport us 3 hexagons should be enough. In our case that means red bolts and petroleum are too far down the tech tree and also overpowered, whereas the generic carbon dioxide engine should be fine. Later we can aim for the petroleum engine. And we even got a choice between copper ore and some glass, but since we can make glass anytime from sand, I'll take the copper ore. If your curiosity spiked after seeing the simplicity of this setup and you were wondering if this really works, as soon as there is a little bit of water on the metal tiles to conduct the heat from the surrounding area through the temp shift plates, using the cooling from the chlorine vent, this worked for days on end. So carbon dioxide engine it is, with a trailblazer module on top so that our duplicant can land without a landing pad on the planetoid. And then I wanted to try out if one of those bigger living modules fits on the rocket, in addition to everything else and the nose cone. But let me set this clear up front, this does not work. It was too big. Imagine a sad Jeff Bezos noise here. The carbon dioxide for the rocket engine, by the way, will come all the way down here from the natural gas generator byproducts. And here you can see me finding out that the rocket is above the height limit. For some of the more advanced rocket engines we will need the data analysis research, hence a lot of data banks that you can get from inspecting stuff, like points of interest, or from analyzing geysers. I'm hinting at that I'm sending over all the data banks from the second planetoid back to the first one. That is in order to prepare the research for the petrol propulsion. Not gonna lie, this took me like 10 tries to say. So after deconstructing the failed experiment, we can try to build a proper rocket. In our case, I tried to place down a second trailblazer module, but this is also too big. So I'm settling on the orbital cargo module, which will hopefully provide us with enough material to build a rocket launch pad on the new planetoid. The planet that we are on right now is rich on iron, so why not put that in the rocket? But maybe only 2 tons of it. And then we have to come up with an interior design. But to take a break from rockets and at the same time that we were digging up the area in the top right corner, I wanted to replace a couple of tiles in the ladder shafts. As you may see right here to the right, this includes creating natural tiles. 2 right next to each other, to be exact. This is all part of a design idea that I laid out for the transit tube access system, which will come in some future episode. Whereas creating natural tiles on the left side was a pain in the butt, and I need to take in some pills before explaining that. Plastic also probably won't hurt, and fertilizer or algae was mandatory. Since we all have our flaws, I'm definitely not made for the glass forge method of creating natural tiles. So creating the natural tiles on the left side took way longer than it ever should have. The method I was using right here is fill the storage bins with a small amounts of fertilizer, which act the same way as algae do when they are heated up. They turn into dirt. Sadly, most of the time the glass is then inside of the tile and you get this cracked look on the tile, which I find hideous but accepted. Because no matter what I tried, I either got the amount of material wrong, creating sand as you can see here, or have gotten cracked natural tiles. So I just accepted my fate that I'm bad at this, but still managed to make some dirt tiles. Whereas creating the rocket interior was super easy. Bed, wall toilet, no power, done. The water and the oxygen will come from the outside. That is what the piping is for. The plastic for the wall toilet and the high pressure gas vent will come from this. And while we're at it, let's just grab some free copper. I expect us to land this rocket, so I'm filling it up with materials, gases. I'm totally going to overpressure that thing. A small amount of clean water for the toilet flushing, but apparently I hooked it up to the wrong outlet, so let's fix that quickly. Like this. There we go. So now we do have pickled meal lice for ages, 4 tons of steel, all the plastic that we had on this planetoid, and maybe a little bit of glass sent over from the first planet. The glass I was talking about was the byproduct from our natural tile creation. I also made some extra batches and dropped them on the geyser. And now all that is left to do is find the right person to do the job, but who might be so capable to crash land into a new world? Well, definitely not Frankie. That's why we put them into our soul scrubber. We will free the duplicant's body of the burden from a predestined soul and put in someone more capable, like Co² from our lovely patrons. This will be our second jack of all trades and start off as a pilot. Let's not overdo it for now, because the ride in a rocket will be very unpleasant. With our astronaut readied up, we just have to set him as crew and set a destination to our metal asteroid. Here in the star map, our rocket is technically displayed, but for some odd reason the rocket is invisible. And even though this is a bug and exploit let's play, we don't want actual bugs in here that harm our game. So I'm telling you right now, if this ever happens to you, just reload the game. Because no matter what I tried, I was not able to land the rocket. And I'm not even meaning the Trailblazer module, because even though you can't click on the rocket right here, you could still send down the duplicant from inside of the cockpit. What I'm meaning is, after you built the rocket platform on the planetoid, you couldn't land the rocket here, no matter what you tried. So in order to calm me down, I massacred a couple of hatches. But mainly because the duplicants on the second planetoid were running out of food. Mainly because our entire pickled meal lice reserves stay with Co² in the rocket. So here we are at a situation I described. I'm trying to send down our stored materials, but since there's absolutely no feedback of anything happening, you don't know whether the module actually does something or not. After that I switched over to the Trailblazer module and tried to send Co² down to the planet's surface. Taking my sweet time, I tried to decide on a spot to send the duplicant to. The problem is we don't have an atmosuit and we need to find an oxygen source super quickly. All these polluted oxygen pockets could come in really handy. All the payloads that you see lying around are from the orbital cargo module, so this worked. The colonization process can be started on this spot right here. Amazing arrivals, Co², welcome to your own planet. Now the main focus lies on surviving the next few days until we have built the launch pad. We didn't manage to get really far this cycle, but this does not matter. As soon as the duplicant got up in the morning, the Trailblazer module and the payloads could be deconstructed for material. The duplicant is a little bit slow, so let's increase the building speed. As soon as we gathered 800 kilograms of refined metal, we could place down an order for the rocket launch pad. Our entire mission's success now lies on the fact if the rocket can land or not. So fingers crossed for this one, otherwise our dupe will starve to death. Ooh, nice, this looks good. Co² is on the way to sleep in the rocket, but decided against it apparently. It also could have been that we were missing some ladders, which we can now add. Now that we got access to the rocket, we can give our Co² a bed, a toilet, and he has access to the pickled meal lice, which is also one of the main reasons why I chose this spot. But first, Co² is a very slow digger, so let's give him digging 1. The reason why I chose this spot is so we can dig right in the middle of this ice boulder, then build a fridge and fill in the pickled meal lice. We got lucky and my idea worked perfectly fine. Normally you need either a very cold atmosphere for your food to stay fresh forever, or you need very cold food in a vacuum. At the moment we have our food in a vacuum with no atmosphere at all, and the food itself is not cold, but you can see it is cooling down quickly, even though the fridge itself is not changing in temperature. So we saved our pickled meal lice from going bad. Now that we have food and oxygen for a while, we need a new place to stay. For that reason, our Co² will get their own living module. Since I don't plan to spend any effort in energy production, we just use the glass that we brought with us to construct a few solar panels. Solar power has the massive flaw that it only works certain times a day, so we need a battery to store the energy for later use. And remember, you can't endlessly stack solar panels anymore, because the power that you get out of it is receding the further down you get. 24.9, 22, 19, 16. But right now it wouldn't hurt to add a few more. But don't forget to hook everything up to a cable. If you ever have those nasty looking graphics, just move the module up and down and they will be gone. In preparation for what might come, I thought it would be a good idea to add a few more batteries to our tower. This doesn't look nice, so same thing as I said before, move it up or down, bring it back into place, done. After that, the rocket platform can be removed and be replaced with a couple of floor tiles. Regarding our food storage experiment, this works like a charm. All of our food reserves are below minus 22 degrees Celsius. We even managed to stop one right at a 0% freshness remaining. And now we technically need a design for the rocket interior, after deconstructing the pilot seat. But what is this? We have access to a plug slug at a printing pod. That reminded me that it might be a good idea to build one of those mini pods on our now third planet. We could call it Co²'s Abode. Or wait a second, if you guys have a funny or cool idea to name the planet, put it down in the comment section. For now, let's take in the plug slug so that our lovely Co² has a little bit of company. Meanwhile, I planned out a nice apartment, so Co² has a nice place to come back to after a hard day of work. And for the bathroom setup to work properly, we need a filtration system. But even more important than that is a reliable oxygen production system. I chose a really simple one for this planet that you guys still need to name, which basically is just an oxygen diffuser and a few filters. And as you see here, we even got a hatchling. Really nice and a good start. The rock crusher, by the way, is needed because there is no sand in our near vicinity. So we need to crush sedimentary rock to make sand. The sand can then be supplied to the deodorizer or the water sieve. The initial liquid for the filtration loop will come from this polluted water pocket down here. Back in the rocket interior, I prioritized the carbon scrubber area. Come on, now we're just getting presents. A Draco, nice. Filling this room with oxygen will make the work for Co² a lot easier. So let's finish our maintenance area, set a gas type element sensor to carbon dioxide and the atmos sensor to around below 1600 grams. So every time the oxygen is below that, our vent will open. Speaking of oxygen, not all of the piping has been built. This prioritizing should help. As shown by the red symbols, we ran out of materials, so that sedimentary rock that we dug up right now should have helped. And it did. Oh, did you hear that noise right now? Duplicant tantrum. It seems we have an angry duplicant here, so as a solution for now, I'm thinking of putting them in solitary confinement. You can do that by setting the rocket to crew only, selecting them as a pilot and not letting them out. Since rockets are basically indestructible, our equipment should be safe. After Co² properly rage quitted, they are down to 60% stress now. Meaning back to work it is. Preparing the bedroom first, after inserting all the pipes in the wall segments, then finishing up the bathroom, as well as the mess hall, recreation building and shower. The filtered water comes from the outside, and since we do have all the required buildings, we now have a bathroom, and a mess hall. We got a few leftover points and now enough moral to handle them. So let's make Co² a master art worker. All in the name of making beautiful statues. And in the background, while that was happening, we ran out of cobalt ore. Co² is angry again, while we were building a nature reserve, which does help massively with the dupe's moral, so being angry is only temporary until they sleep it off. I just checked the temperature in the rocket and it is freezing cold in there, so it might be a good idea to heat up the oxygen that we are pumping in. I'm taking the throw energy at your problem until it is solved approach here. For now I'm setting the temperature to around 30 degrees. Then we can activate the pump, check the temperature and see that all the cold seeps in through the metal door. So I quickly rearranged the door and placed it underneath the temperature unit. We even accidentally trapped in the plug slug, so if we add a few more cables in the right height, we could even use the energy from it. I sadly forgot to make the gas pipes out of insulation too, so need to do that now. By the way, everything that is off-gassing will be stored down to the right. The temperature of the oxygen system looks better than before. The oxygen in the pipes is also warmer than before. That means another try for the body buds as decor plants. I tried that before, but they wilted and fell down because of the bad temperatures. Which of course hasn't changed much for now. The old cold oxygen needs to be consumed first. And even then it will take some time. If you also want to be part of our Let's Play, want to have your own duplicant or even a whole planet, shenanigans included, consider supporting me on Patreon. I wish you all a good night or day and please don't forget to leave a like because this was really fun to make and I hope you enjoyed it.